Imagine being able to let go of any negative emotion in an instant. How would that change your life? What if you could release anger, fear, or anxiety as easily as opening your hand? Today, we're diving into a revolutionary approach to emotional mastery that promises just that. Welcome to CEO's Library, the 1% bookshelf, where we distill game-changing insights from the world's best business and personal development books. I'm your host, and today we're exploring a technique that could transform your emotional landscape and skyrocket your success. Our focus is on Dr. David Hawkins' groundbreaking book, Letting Go: The Pathway of Surrender. This isn't just another self-help book, it's a manual for emotional freedom that has the potential to revolutionize your life and leadership. Before we dive in, let me ask you this. How do you usually deal with difficult emotions? Maybe you try to push them down, hoping they'll go away. Or perhaps you express them sometimes more forcefully than you'd like. Maybe you even try to escape them through various distractions. If any of these sound familiar, you're not alone. These are common strategies, but as we'll discover today, they're not the most effective. In fact, they might be holding you back from reaching your full potential. Dr. Hawkins presents a radically different approach. He introduces a simple yet powerful technique called letting go that allows us to release negative emotions and tap into higher states of consciousness. This method isn't about suppressing emotions or forcing ourselves to think positively. Instead, it's about surrendering our resistance to what we're feeling, allowing emotions to dissipate naturally. Now, you might be thinking, and that sounds too simple to be effective, but as we'll explore today, this simplicity is precisely what makes it so powerful. It's a natural ability we all possess, but most of us have forgotten how to use it. Throughout this episode, we'll break down the mechanism of letting go, explore how it can transform various aspects of your life, and provide practical ways to start implementing this technique today. Whether you're a CEO looking to enhance your leadership, an entrepreneur seeking to manage the stress of building a business, or simply someone who wants to experience more peace and happiness in life, this episode is for you. So let's start by examining why our traditional approaches to handling emotions often fall short. Think about the last time you felt really angry. Maybe a team member made a costly mistake or a client backed out of a major deal. What did you do with that anger? If you're like most people, you probably did one of three things. First, you might have tried to suppress it. You told yourself, I shouldn't be angry, or I need to stay professional, and attempted to push the feeling down. This might work in the short term, but suppressed emotions don't just disappear. They linger beneath the surface, often emerging later in unexpected and sometimes destructive ways. Or perhaps you expressed your anger, you lashed out, raised your voice, or sent a strongly worded email. While this might have provided temporary relief, it likely created new problems in your relationships or work environment. The third common approach is escape. Maybe you distracted yourself with work, reached for a drink, or binged on Netflix. Again, this might have provided temporary relief, but the underlying emotion remained unaddressed. Dr. Hawkins argues that all these approaches are ultimately ineffective because they don't actually resolve the emotion. They're like putting a band-aid on a wound that needs stitches. The root cause remains untreated. So why do we default to these strategies? It's because they're what we've been taught, either explicitly or through observation. From a young age, we learn to suppress emotions that are deemed inappropriate, to express our feelings to get them out, or to distract ourselves when we're upset. But here's the crucial insight from letting go. These approaches don't work because they're all forms of resistance. Whether we're suppressing, expressing, or escaping, we're resisting the emotion itself. And as the old saying goes, what we resist persists. This resistance creates a cycle. We feel an uncomfortable emotion. We resist it through one of these methods, and this resistance actually gives the emotion more power. It becomes lodged in our subconscious, influencing our thoughts, decisions, and behaviors in ways we might not even realize. Dr. Hawkins presents a compelling case that our repressed and suppressed emotions are the real source of stress and negative life experiences, not external events. It's not the challenging project at work that's causing your stress, but your emotional reaction to it. It's not your partner's behavior that's making you unhappy, but your emotional response to their actions. This might sound like bad news at first. After all, we can't always control external events. But it's actually incredibly empowering, because while we can't always change our circumstances, we can change how we relate to our emotions. And this is where the technique of letting go comes in. Instead of resisting our emotions, we learn to surrender to them. This doesn't mean giving in to them or letting them control us. It means allowing ourselves to fully feel the emotion without judgment, without trying to change it or push it away. Let me share a story that illustrates how powerful this can be. I had a client, let's call her Sarah, who was a high-powered executive at a tech company. Sarah was brilliant and driven, but she struggled with intense anxiety, especially before important presentations or meetings. She had tried everything to manage her anxiety. She practiced deep breathing, used positive affirmations, and even took medication. But nothing seemed to fully resolve the issue. The anxiety would always creep back in, sometimes even stronger than before. When I introduced her to the letting go technique, she was skeptical at first. It seemed too simple. But she agreed to give it a try during our session. I asked her to close her eyes and focus on the feeling of anxiety in her body. Where did she feel it? In her chest, she said, like a tight knot. I then asked her to simply allow that feeling to be there. Not to try to change it or make it go away, but to give it permission to exist. At first, Sarah reported that the feeling intensified. This is common and often why people resist emotions. They're afraid that feeling them fully will be overwhelming. But I encouraged her to stay with it, to keep allowing. After a few minutes, something shifted. The tight feeling in her chest began to loosen. She described it as if the knot was slowly untying itself. As she continued to simply allow the feeling, it gradually dissipated. When Sarah opened her eyes, she looked amazed. "It's gone," she said. "I don't feel anxious anymore." What's more, she reported feeling a sense of calm and clarity that she hadn't experienced in years. This is the power of letting go. By surrendering our resistance to the emotion, we allow it to move through us naturally. It's like opening a fist that's been clenched tight. The tension releases on its own when we stop holding on. Now let's break down the steps of this process so you can start applying it in your own life. 1. Identify the emotion. The first step is to become aware of what you're feeling. This might sound obvious, but many of us are so used to suppressing or ignoring our emotions that we're not always conscious of them. 2. Focus on the feeling. Once you've identified the emotion, focus your attention on how it feels in your body. Where do you feel it? What sensations are associated with it? 3. Allow the feeling. This is the crucial step. Give yourself permission to feel the emotion fully. Don't try to change it or make it go away. Just let it be there. 4. Let go of wanting to change it. Notice if there's a part of you that wants to resist the feeling or make it different. See if you can let go of that desire. 5. Stay with it. Continue to allow the feeling, staying present with it for as long as it takes. This might be a few seconds or it might be several minutes. The key is to approach this process with curiosity and non-judgment. You're not trying to achieve anything or get rid of the emotion. You're simply allowing it to be there and watching what happens. Now, I encourage you to try this right now. Think of a minor irritation or stress you're currently experiencing. It doesn't have to be anything major. Maybe it's frustration with traffic or anxiety about an upcoming deadline. Identify where you feel this emotion in your body. Is it a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a tension in your shoulders? Whatever it is, focus your attention on that sensation. Now give yourself permission to feel it fully. Don't try to change it or make it go away. Just let it be there. Notice if there's a part of you that wants to resist the feeling. If there is, see if you can let go of that resistance too. Stay with this for a moment. You might notice the feeling intensify at first, and that's okay. Just keep allowing it to be there. As you do this, you might start to notice the feeling shifting or changing. It might get stronger, or it might start to dissipate. Whatever happens, just keep allowing it. How do you feel now? If you noticed even a small shift in the intensity of the emotion, you've experienced the power of letting go. This technique might seem simple, and it is, but it's also profound. By practicing this regularly, you can start to release layers of accumulated emotional baggage, leading to greater clarity, peace, and effectiveness in all areas of your life. Now that we understand the mechanism of letting go, let's explore how this practice fits into a larger framework that Dr. Hawkins calls the map of consciousness. Imagine consciousness as a spectrum ranging from the lowest, most negative states to the highest, most positive ones. Dr. Hawkins has calibrated this spectrum, assigning numerical values to different emotional states. At the bottom of the scale, we have emotions like shame, guilt, and apathy, with values below 200. These are heavy, debilitating emotions that drain our energy and limit our potential. Moving up the scale, we encounter emotions like anger and pride. While these feel more powerful than the lower emotions, they're still ultimately limiting and often destructive. The critical tipping point on this scale is 200, which corresponds to courage. This is the level where we start to draw power from within rather than from external sources. It's the gateway to the higher emotions. Above courage, we find more positive states like acceptance, reason, love, joy, and ultimately, enlightenment at the top of the scale. Now you might be wondering, where do I fall on this scale? It's a natural question, but it's important to understand that we don't exist at a single point on this map. Our consciousness level can fluctuate based on our thoughts, emotions, and circumstances. However, we do tend to have a baseline level where we operate most of the time. This baseline has a profound impact on every aspect of our lives, our health, our relationships, our career success, and our overall sense of well-being. The exciting part is that by consistently practicing the letting go technique, we can gradually raise our baseline level of consciousness. Each time we let go of a negative emotion, we're not just releasing that specific feeling, we're also creating space for higher emotions to emerge. Let me give you an example of how this might play out in a business context. Imagine you're a leader facing a major challenge in your company. Maybe sales are down, or a key project is behind schedule. If you're operating from a lower level of consciousness, you might react with fear or anger. You might blame your team or become paralyzed with anxiety about the future of the company. These reactions, while understandable, are unlikely to lead to effective solutions. Now imagine approaching the same situation from a higher level of consciousness. From a place of courage, you might see the challenge as an opportunity for growth and innovation. From acceptance, you might be able to clearly assess the situation without emotional distortion. From reason, you might analyze the problem objectively and devise creative solutions. The situation hasn't changed, but your ability to respond effectively has dramatically improved. This is the power of raising your consciousness level through the practice of letting go. So how can you apply this in your daily life? Start by becoming more aware of your emotional states throughout the day. When you notice yourself experiencing a lower emotion, fear, anger, pride, use it as a trigger to practice letting go. Remember, the goal isn't to force yourself into positive emotions. It's to release the resistance to whatever you're feeling, allowing your natural state of higher consciousness to emerge. As you practice this consistently, you'll likely start to notice shifts in various areas of your life. Let's explore some of the benefits you might experience. First, improved emotional regulation. By becoming more comfortable with all your emotions and learning to let them go, you'll find yourself less reactive and more responsive in challenging situations. This can be a game changer in both your personal and professional relationships. Second, enhanced clarity and decision-making. As you release negative emotions, you'll find your mind becomes clearer. You'll be able to see situations more objectively and make decisions from a place of wisdom rather than reactivity. Third, increased resilience. Life will always have its ups and downs, but as you raise your consciousness level, you'll find yourself better equipped to handle challenges. You'll bounce back more quickly from setbacks and maintain a more positive outlook even in difficult times. Fourth, improved health. Chronic negative emotions take a toll on our physical health. By releasing these emotions, you're reducing stress on your body, which can lead to improvements in various health markers. Fifth, greater success and achievement. As you operate from higher levels of consciousness, you'll likely find that opportunities seem to come more easily. This isn't magic, it's simply that you're approaching life from a more positive, proactive state, which naturally leads to better outcomes. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, a greater sense of peace and fulfillment. As you let go of negative emotions and tap into higher states of consciousness, you'll likely experience a deeper sense of contentment and purpose in life. Now, I want to emphasize that this isn't about achieving a state of constant bliss or never experiencing negative emotions. That's not realistic or even desirable. Negative emotions have their place. They can alert us to problems and motivate us to make changes. The goal is to be able to experience all emotions without becoming stuck in the negative ones. It's about having the tools to process and release emotions effectively so they inform our actions rather than control them. So, how can you start implementing this in your daily life? Here are a few practical suggestions. 1. Start your day with a letting go practice. Before you dive into your to-do list, take a few minutes to check in with your emotions. If you notice any tension or negativity, practice letting it go. 2. Use transitions as triggers. Whenever you're moving from one activity to another, from home to work, from one meeting to the next, use it as a reminder to check in with your emotions and let go of any accumulated stress. 3. Practice in challenging moments. When you find yourself in a stressful situation, take a moment to apply the letting go technique. Even a brief practice can help shift your state and allow you to respond more effectively. 4. End your day with reflection. Before bed, review your day and notice if you're holding on to any emotions from the events of the day. Practice letting these go so you can sleep more peacefully. 5. Be patient and persistent. Like any skill, letting go becomes easier and more natural with practice. Don't get discouraged if it feels challenging at first. Keep at it, and you'll start to notice the benefits. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought. The technique we've explored today is simple, but its implications are profound. By learning to let go of negative emotions, you're not just improving your mood, you're fundamentally changing how you interact with the world. Imagine approaching your work, your relationships, and your life goals from a place of clarity, courage, and inner peace. Imagine being able to navigate challenges with resilience and wisdom. This is the potential that the practice of letting go offers. So I encourage you to start your journey of letting go today. Begin with small moments and gradually apply the technique to bigger challenges. Notice how it affects your emotional state, your decisions, and your overall experience of life. Remember, this isn't about achieving perfection, it's about progress. Each time you practice letting go, you're taking a step towards greater emotional freedom and higher consciousness. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Letting Go, the Pathway of Surrender by Dr. David Hawkins. If you found value in these insights, I highly recommend diving deeper into the book. The Amazon link to purchase a copy is included in the episode description. This powerful technique for emotional mastery could be life-changing, so I encourage you to explore the full work if you found this overview valuable. The book goes into much greater depth on the mechanics of letting go, the levels of consciousness, and how to apply these principles to various life situations. Remember, true power doesn't come from controlling our emotions or our environment. It comes from our ability to let go and align with our highest self. As you practice this technique, you're not just improving your own life, you're contributing to the elevation of consciousness in the world around you. Thank you for listening to CEO's Library, the 1% Bookshelf. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might benefit from these insights. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our distillations of game-changing books. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and keep letting go. Your journey to higher consciousness and greater success starts now.